House, and she'd done that as a Democrat since January of 2021. However, she said she's dumping the racist Democratic Party and switching her party registration to the GOP. She announced her move, accused Democrat politicians of having gotten away with using and abusing the black community. She went on to say, when I decided to stand up on behalf of disadvantaged children in support of school choice, my Democrat colleagues didn't stand by me. She said they crucified me. When I decided to stand up in support of safe communities and refused to support efforts to defund the police, they didn't back me. They abandoned me. For far too long, the Democrat Party has gotten away with using and abusing the black community. For decades, the Democrat Party has received the support of more than 90% of the black community. And what do we have to show for it? She said that she represented a solidly blue district in the city of Atlanta, and went on to say this isn't a political decision, it's a moral one. Now, they asked her if she thought she's going to be facing backlash from the Democratic Party over her decision, and she said the most dangerous thing to the Democrat Party is a black person with a mind of their own, so it wouldn't surprise me. She said she supported school choice, parental rights, and opportunities for children to thrive, especially those that are marginalized and tend to fail in school. She said, I voted yes for parents and yes for children not failing schools. Maynard justified her position by noting that many schools in her district have a 3% reading proficiency rate and that large numbers of children can't do simple math. She went on to say, I have a few colleagues upset with me to the point where they're giving away $1,000 checks to anyone that will run against me. So now we have people standing up for moral values and doing what is right for the people that they are near to, dear to, and in her case, responsible to answer to. I think it's beautiful, family, to see everyone standing up for and speaking for truth, because we're seeing that all over the place. And this is the increase of the wars and the rumors of wars. We're seeing people in industries standing up and speaking the truth. Therefore, the people's wars in different areas are continuing to heat up. Another such area happens to be Hollywood. Mark Wahlberg, I'm sure many of you are very familiar with him. He's a pretty famous actor. And he has told hundreds of people at a Sunday school meeting in Los Angeles about that powerful group of Hollywood insiders that have now come forward and declared war on the evil entertainment industry elite who traffic in children, and Hollywood pedophiles have nowhere left to hide. He said, we're hunting these sons of bitches down and taking them out, one blood-drinking pedophile at a time. He went on to say, for this reason, he's saying Jim Caviezel and Mel Gibson are American heroes with balls of steel for daring to take on the Hollywood system and play their parts in raising awareness about the scourge of elite pedophilia in the entertainment industry. Now, some of you may know about it, some of you may not, but as of last week, a movie called Sound of Freedom was released in the theaters. If you haven't had a chance to see it, I would highly recommend you see it, because it is about the child sex trade and pedophilia. And Jim Caviezel does play the lead in that. But he fought for 5 years trying to get that film in the theaters, and Disney has blocked them at every level. Of course, those of you that have listened to these calls for a while can fully understand why Disney was blocking to have that produced. But now it's out there, and it's actually breaking box office records. Mr. Wahlberg said that he made clear that the consequences in Hollywood could not be higher for those who threaten to expose the depraved activities of the elite. And, of course, he'd heard about these things and even had been asked to partake in them and walked away from it. He said after taking some time to contemplate his future, he said, now it's time to right some wrongs. The only way I can honor the children is to dedicate my life to eradicating this evil from the face of the earth. And he explained that his own children have urged him to speak out about the real truth and the true nature of Hollywood. The good guys, according to Wahlberg, are recruiting in numbers, and a civil war is threatening to erupt in Hollywood, bringing the whole system to its knees.
Now, for a lot of you who have never heard Dr. Hindu Henderson and Sister Shelley Boeing, this was actually the State of the Union address that was made to the conscious community yesterday. For those of you that observe Jumar and Talim services and you are inundated with certain information, then you are very much aware of the present state of what's going on globally. But a lot of your family, brothers and sisters, they're simply wondering why their dollar just doesn't go as far as it used to. And as long as the population can be lied to, pacified, told it's going to rain purple raindrops, then everyone is not going to understand the immediate danger that they are in because they have not, as of yet, connected the dots. In this particular class, which is civil law notary training, and also on the eve of Jumar, Talim services, peace and love to all those that observe. Happy Holy Day. We reach out to all individuals of consciousness to bring them a unified message of clarity and also information that can allow you to save yourself and save those that you hold near and dear. It's not about everybody getting what you're getting into or doing what you're doing. What matters is that you are here. If you're here, then that's all that matters, because they may not be ready to be fully responsible for their legacy and or estate and those things that are being done. A lot of folks are scared to raise a voice or a perception of certain things, even when you hit them with truth, because truth needs no validation. But you would think truth would not only make you free, but you would stand at the top of the mountain and shout it to the top of your lungs. But again, in this society, if it's truth, you need to keep it under wraps. Keep it to yourself. Don't tell nobody. If that's your truth, fine. If you get off the plantation, fine. But the danger is you start telling your neighbors that they can leave. The problem is when you start influencing other unconscious individuals to take a stake in being conscious. This is just what this civil war is about. Ain't it ironic that Hollywood, who most people live their lifestyle patterning and thinking that these individuals got it right and you got it wrong, they're at a civil war because they've sold themselves to Satan. Ain't it ironic that it takes one of their very own to enlighten the individuals of really what's going on? But you guys have read scripture. You guys have followed religion. You guys have a spirituality about yourself. So you've always heard of these prophecies coming to life. This is not new. But some individuals have more faith in something that man has created than standing on natural law principles that predate a lot of these religions that a lot of folks are consuming their energy with. And so when we talk about civics. We're going to talk about civil law. And when we talk about civil law, that becomes a perception of what was common among conscious individuals, which are going to draw into common law. Sovereignty a long time ago was literally a badge that you wore because you understood upon whom you came from and upon whom you're going to return to. But these days, common sense seems to be not so common. What's the definition of insanity? Keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? Well, let's talk about this commercially. If you've been paying attention economically, and I know this is where it gets boring. A lot of folks say, Mr. Bay, I didn't know this, or I didn't know. And the reason why most people don't really know a lot of this stuff is because it's not fashionable. Now, you can tell me what's going on with the local baseball teams, the football teams, and the local actresses and actors, and this, that, and the other, which may be great. That's what you consume your time with. Who am I to tell you not to do it? But what's dangerous is that you're giving a lot of energy to someone else's legacy. And you're not spending half that time and energy trying to figure out about your own legacy. And what makes it dangerous is that everybody thinks, well, as long as she's in class, as long as he's in class, that's great, because when the lights get shut off and this, that, and the other happen, I can just go to his house. I can go to her house. You know, their backup plan is you. You're their backup. You know, they don't have to be into these things as long as you are, because when they cards stop working and this system starts to implode upon itself, they're coming to you. Scarcity is a very powerful motivator. So civics and civil law has to be spoken of just as regularly as everything in the secular realm. And in this hour or so of dialogue, for those of you that are notaries, my job is to give you unadulterated, unfiltered truths that you can stand on and implement today. There are a lot of individuals that will be able to use your skill set of being a civil law notary. Now, leveraging that in what we call the cyber platform, this requires a whole different level of energy mentally. For example, for the last 6 months, this new phenomenon that we're going to call the Chat GPT bandwagon has literally caused ripples and waves in cybersecurity. Those of us that work in computer programming and development have a lot of mixed emotions about what is happening right now. I myself, I welcome it, because at least it's going to take away the excuse for some of you that, well, Mr. Bay, I didn't know that. You don't have that excuse anymore. Most of you are actually tuning in to this particular podcast, broadcast, webinar, class, whatever you want to call it, through some sort of cellular device. But you'll probably say, well, I don't know nothing about Elodio this and Elodio that, and I heard this might be some kind of security party creditor thing, you know, speculation. But let me just call things what they are. The cellular device that you are tuning in to this particular class is built with an element that was not created here on this planet. It was simply mined from this planet. It wasn't created from this planet. It was mined from it. That means it fell from heaven. I'm going to keep it basic, but it's going to get a little intricate. So this element that allows us to communicate without being in the same room has a value that allows you to speak to people in other places where you're not physically in front of. And this is a perception of reality that a lot of people, when I say take it for granted, I'm just going to get deep just for a second, not too long, because I have a lot to say, a lot to do, and hopefully you guys will walk out of this particular course ready to save the savable. But we got to cover some basics here. This element that you're using to communicate with me today has a genealogical, has a analytical, it has a binary connection to you. And for over 5,000 years, you have only been allowed access through it, through these agencies that call themselves governments. They have enjoyed for the last 50 years accessing these elements and using these elements to develop the very things that are some of your biggest deterrents. It wasn't but 3 years ago that you were told about this particular disease that was so deadly you had to take a test just to realize you would have it, and you were told that you needed to get a vaccination that was so safe that they had to damn near threaten you to take it. Now, if you've ever worked in a manufacturing facility and you ever had to wear those facial coverings that we're going to call masks, N94 and the likes of, because I used to work in the manufacturing. I know what N94 masks are. I know what they can and cannot do. Again, if you break wind and you can still smell it through the mask, good luck with that protecting you from whatever they told you it would. But again, we panic easy. We don't research anything, so they can just tell us whatever they've been telling us. And what has happened in our world of civics, civil law, arbitration, is there is huge corporations that owe families because they literally launched a campaign to get rid of 1/3 of this plant's population. And they used a soft kill that they call a vaccination to do it. Now, if they kill off the rest of the heirs, they don't have to pay out these insurance claims. So please understand that this civil war that Shelley Bowen is exposing, even though it's talking about Hollywood, wasn't it Hollywood that told you it was safe to take the vaccination? You know, remember? It's safe. You know, they took politicians and famous people that you trusted every day to tell you to go get the first booster and the second booster and the third and fourth. You got so many boosters, then they tell you you done got about 4 or 5 of them. Well, if I'm boosted, why am I worried about the next person having it? Oh, the boosters don't work. Well, what in the hell was I taking the boosters for? You got children who now are dropping dead at an alarming rate while the medical profession continues to tell you, oh, there's nothing to worry about. Professional athletes who are healthier than you and I, who exercise every day, drop dead. And all what the common denominator is, wait a minute, all these people were vaccinated. You guys know my story, but I'll say it again for clarity. Upon doing arbitration, I got into a campaign personally to launch COVID insurance, and I used our family indemnity bond to be able to insure families against COVID. And I did that because I had a family member who worked in the medical profession who was told in order for her to keep her job, she needed to be vaccinated. And upon taking the vaccination, 7 days after she got vaccinated, we were making funeral arrangements. And my family, who I love near and dear, because they are told, they do what they're told, they don't question the narrative. It is very painful for the truth of the matter to really be talked about. And I did take that personal. And so my entire campaign of saving the savable took on, look, we have to be in a position to hold these individuals accountable. And that's going to require a certain type of skill set. That's going to require a certain type of personality. Look, money only makes you more what you are. So you're going to be endowed and blessed with all these things that you're learning to save the savable because you got work to do. If we're going to call it the devil and and those that are not of the devil and his or her minions are on their job. So you need to be on your job. I'm just simply here to give you what was given to me because it doesn't belong to me. I am only the messenger. Truth does not need validation by Bezel Bay, nor anyone in this course. I just choose a path. I'm not a vigilante. I'm not a religious leader. I'm just an ordinary man that seeks extraordinary knowledge, and my job is to pass that information to you in order for you to have a way out of no way. Let's face facts. The average American is still clinging to Biden's promise. What was that promise? Do you remember? I'll help you out. Keep listening.
So people are finding their voices, which is a great thing, and standing up for what is right and what is true. So if you are ready, sir, I'll be happy to go ahead and yield the call to you.
Very shiny. How do you hear me?
Clear as a bell.
Outstanding. You did kind of pass that to me at a moment where we were really doing some, I would say, figuring. Based upon, I'm doing numbers, but at the same time, the numbers, they always kind of either add up or they don't add up. We're saying that I'm going to go ahead and keep this place and go ahead and move forward by saying rise and shine to all of the callers that have called in. We do know that we have designated this particular call as a call that goes out to the United States of America, US of A, if we might use an abbreviation. And it's in regards to listening to everything that's going on, not just in the US of A, but in the surrounding nations. We do understand that all of the surrounding nations around us, being that now it has been 198 of them that have been designated, identified, and even at the same time they have been located. That is one of them that seems to be constantly missing from our list. That is the one that's known as the US of A. No one seems to be able to find it anywhere on the list. It's missing. Now, I know there's a lot of interference that's going on, and it's okay because at the end of the day, that interference will go away. It will go away permanently, never, ever to return again, because right now it has its hands full. It has its hands full working with communications. It has its hands full working with CIA, FBI, and all the other would-be branches, agencies around the world. They're working now. They're working on a system whereby they're planning on doing nothing more than shutting down all the so-called would-be private agencies, because all those agencies have been gathering what we know to be funds, money, securities that no one now can account for. And the more and more we go into this process of having to do nothing more than reset the entire universe, it seems that the more and more debt seems to be arriving and falling on the tables. There have you and about. No, we're not in any type of fear of what's being said now. Do we have to be held accountable, or do we have to worry about someone latching out on us against it? We're not concerned with that, because at the end of the day, everyone who's listening has to understand that there is only one finance system on this whole entire universe. There's only one finance system. Even if you should find some grays or some greens that come down from what you might deem to be the moon or Mars or wherever they might be right now located, let us help you out. If they do not bring a currency with them that has some type of critical backing to it, credited backing to it, they're not going to be able to help you.
Can you hear me? Hopefully you guys can hear me. At the end of the day, I hope everyone understands the fact that most of the information that you've heard, that Brother Henry, and I don't know whether you wouldn't hear me earlier, so I'll start over. What you haven't figured out was that most individuals who are communicating, they're using allodial assets like silver. Your cell phone is made out of silver. The computer that you use is made out of silver. Matter of fact, most of the things that you use to communicate are laced with gold and silver. These elements have that type of proponent. It's been known since the beginning of time to be able to do that. We just have deduced it to a lower frequency for speaking to someone without being in the same room. And this is not new technology. This is very ancient technology. Case in point, the individuals who call themselves the elite have designated themselves as being trustees over this land. But according to God's law, the true heirs to the estate have been taught something that wasn't necessarily what they once knew. For example, if for individuals that call themselves black, Negro, and colored here in this territory, before you was introduced to Christianity, a lot of your ancestors knew who God was by name. They didn't need a preacher or a pastor or a book to tell them who to pray to and when to pray and how to do it. You knew it. I'll give you an African proverb that sums it up. There's two missionaries in Africa, and two bushmen from the bush come out, a father and a son. And as the missionary men are chopping down trees and doing what they're doing, the son whispered to his father, it's like, Father, what are they doing? And so he was like, son, I don't know what they're doing. He said, won't you ask them? So, the son wandered over to one of the Christian missionaries. And it's like, what are you doing? And so the missionary took his hat off and he, was real proud. And he said, well, what we're doing here is we're clearing off this area and we're going to build a house of worship for God. And so the youngster looks at the missionary man and he looks at him up and down. You know how people look at you like you're short, right? He kind of looked at him like that. And so the missionary guy he was like, well, why are you looking at me like that? And he starts laughing. And he goes back to his father, and they kind of talk in their language. So the missionary man, he's very, this disturbs him. He said, wait a minute, before you guys leave, wait a minute, what is so funny? Why is your son laughing? So the father turns, he said, you told my son that the house that you're building is a house for the Lord. And my son looked at me and started laughing. He said, what a small house for the creator of all. This is the perception of where you once was and what you've been reduced to today. See, perception has been one of the main weapons that has literally caused a lot of individuals to not understand what's already universally spoken. Do you understand that the nations around this planet have all been physically taking possession of physical gold and silver while allowing you to be bankrupt, pushed out into the street, on the verge of starvation for paper? 6 months ago in this territory that they call Florida, there was a massive amount of individuals that traveled to this state and physically took possession of silver and gold. They're not just buying gold and silver on the stock market. That's child's play. That game has already run its course. These individuals actually had what they call gold certificates and silver certificates they bought through an ETF on the stock market. Somebody told them 6 months ago to get out of harm's way. So I'm going to kind of paint the picture for you because, we as a people really don't start getting stuff until we have to get stuff. I told you 6 months ago that if you didn't have a certain amount of ounces of silver and gold in your physical possession, then what is about to happen and what has happened is going to be extremely difficult to navigate because they're not going to have to round you up and look for you. You're going to find them. Case in point, most Americans who rely upon government for their substance, for their well-being, are being summoned. They're being petitioned They're being audited. They're being ticketed. They are being targeted because the debtor to creditor system is a symbiotic relationship, and you can't have creditors without debtors. And a lot of individuals have voluntarily put that iron yoke around themselves and their children. And they found a comfort in being ignorant. It's fashionable for some reason with this generation of people to not know what they need to know, and will boast and brag about the things that they know not. There is no reason why, with all of the advanced technology that roams through this territory, that we have one of the most lowest rating financial illiterate population of people on the planet. Out of every other territory, what you call the United States, we're like in the bottom tier when it comes to financial literacy. And individuals that are my age group are being targeted because we still remember the time before the internet and this, that, and the other. So we come to a point where asymmetric information, with the assistance of this AI technology, which is a double-edged sword, just as many people will, put out of a job and this, that, and the other. If you use the same tool, it'll actually free you if you actually understand how to use it. It's not a tool to put you out of a job. It's a tool like a hammer to hang up a better painting, in my opinion. It's a tool. Your failure to step into it, though, they've already made a decision for you. For the last 3 years, I've been telling you about current expected credit loss provisions. I've told you there was legislation in play with the Obama administration that worked its way through the Trump administration. No one has even brought up the fact that HJR 192, in conjunction with HR 5404, has already laid out this reset and what you need to do and how you need to do it. And they simply use COVID to keep the bankers from going to prison. Ain't it ironic? There was over 30 CFOs right before the pandemic was announced in the United States that all just stepped out of their role as fiduciaries. Sort of like they knew somebody was going to make an insurance claim and they was going to be held liable. It was sort of like some people knew something was about to happen. We go back to Biden's promise. Y'all remember his promise, right? Don't get quiet on me now. What did Sleepy Joe promise you? Oh yeah, he was gonna forgive the debt, right? How's that working out? Has your family debt been forgiven? All that schooling you took. Oh, and don't think that, they said it was forgiven. They didn't want it back. If you don't have a form called 1099-C, which means the cancellation of debt, if you don't have one in your possession, then good luck with that. Good luck with that. That was his promise, right? I mean, come on, people. Don't get quiet on me now. Remember, we're the only people in commerce on this planet that, even though this voting system is supposed to be fair, we're the only people that don't get nothing for our vote. And again, I told you at the beginning of this course, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, that's insanity. Every other culture gets something for their vote. And every other culture who knows the truth, they circulate their money in their community at least 7 times before they let it leave. So what I'm saying, notaries, is that those that know versus those that don't know is the fuel that's fueling this civil war. And all corporations are going to do, they're going to be sanctioned by this government, and they're going to have to pass that buck to your children. Now, I'm not going to go into how to index. I can only talk about notarial law and revocation of election and how to leverage the things that you have to perfect the integrity of your trust and your family's trust and go in that direction. I will release for those of you, especially for Moors, who want to know more about what this State of the Union address was yesterday, because Dr. Hindu is going to say a lot of things. But I have a lot of new people who are just tuning in for the first time, and I don't want to scare them. Let me just say it that way. A lot of folks say, wow, this is a lot of information. I'm trying to catch up. Like, a lot of things that you learn actually is not supposed to blow your mind. It's supposed to open your mind. But I know if this is the first time you're listening to this, it really blows your mind. So I have to give you some tangible things during Jumar and Talim, regardless of your culture and creed and religious preference. We are all part of what we call the human race. And in my endeavor to save my family, I think I should be able to pass along something to you to save your family. But this is not the time to bring folks across the line kicking and screaming either. This ain't for everybody. Why am I saying it that way? Because what you're going to find is as you discover that whatever path brought you to today, the universe ordained it, which meant the Most High sanctioned it. See, there isn't two powers. You know, there's only one power. There's the Creator. And everything that happens is because it was ordained by the Creator. Good, bad, or indifferent. These things you call good, bad, or indifferent are nothing more than opportunities. It's just how you personally feel about those opportunities. You know, it's what's going on in your head. It's not what's actually going on outside of your head. It's how you feel about it. It's what you attach to it. A lot of people have trouble with freedom because they haven't truly freed themselves mentally from the thing that's burdening them. So, as notaries, you are scribes who have access to the information. That's the other part of this. So anything that you don't have access to, it's not hard to get access to. Case in point. I was asked by a potential notary today, once they become a notary, would they be allowed to practice notarial law in other territories? Now, I'm going to give you the unadulterated version, and I'm going to give you the official state version. If you are a notary in your territory and state in good standings, then you can acquire credentials that allow you to be a notary here in Florida and also a notary there in Georgia. That's the state version. Under notarial law, let me give you what they didn't say. Because if you ever became a notary through your state, where did your paperwork go in order for you to become a notary? Anyone who has an answer to that, you can please press 9-4 on your keypad. I will unmute you and give you an opportunity to address the class in that aspect, like especially for those that have gone through that process. If you've gone through the process of becoming a notary in your state and you had to fill out some sort of paperwork, my question to you is, after that paperwork was put together, where did that paperwork go? If anyone has a response to that question, please press 9-4 on your keypad, and I will give you an opportunity to answer that question. Again, my question is, if you are a notary in good standings in your state, and there was paperwork that you was required to fill out, after you fill out that paperwork, where was that paperwork given to? Okay, so we got someone that ends with, okay, I'm going to call it the last four digits of your number because I don't see the names here. Caller, last four digits of your number is 9074. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. So we're going to take a stab at that. What happened? What do you think is the answer to that?
Probably going to the Secretary of State.
Secretary of State, beautiful. Okay, so since your paperwork technically had to go back to the Secretary of State, when you become a notary, you have to do what they call an oath of office, right?
Correct.
Who administers the oath of office?
An officer from the Secretary of State.
Who happens to be a what?
Notary.
There you go. So notaries become notaries by going in front of notaries.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in now. So when I get the question, how do I become a notary and I'm able to do this, that, and the third? Well, just go just provide an affidavit in front of a notary, and notaries beget notaries. Now, depending upon where you are commercially, there may be some additional paperwork or not. I can't answer that unless I have more information. But logistically, you just got to go in front of a notary to become a notary. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to talk about the Secretary of State since you brought that up, so bear with me, because if you listen long enough, you're going to learn something. Notaries, what is one of your duties when you're not performing notarial acts? What are you sanctioned to do when you're not doing notarial acts? What is your title? Official.
Public notary.
Public notary. Okay, that's a good response. Do we have anyone else that want to maybe chisel away at that same answer and maybe give us a little deeper interpretation? You know, it's like when you become a notary, you have the title of being a public notary. Anyone else may have another take on that? And if you do, please press 9-4 on your keypad. As I'm looking, I'm seeing that, okay, I don't have anyone else that's willing to take a stab at it, so I'm going to help you out here. When you're not performing notarial acts and you are labeled as a public notary, technically you're really considered a deputy Secretary of State. Wow. See, the Secretary of State's job is to make sure that commerce is being governed in accordance with the state's commercial code standing that governs those provisions. People have this misinterpretation that when they go out commercially and do something, and the blue lights come on, you've broken the law. You can never break a law. You only violate statutes because the statutes were codified. Every time they say you did something and they want money from you, it's because it's commerce. It's commercial. You can't break a law. Law is legislation. You can only violate what? Codes. Because it's commercial. So the notaries are around to make sure that what is considered money, lawful legal money, conveyances, and so forth are routed properly. So think about notaries as air traffic control. Because everything centrally located in commerce, whether it's a traffic ticket, the recording of a birth, a title on a real estate, is going to have to be somehow, some way, if it's put on an application, the application is given to some sort of commercial registry. That registry is then certified, like I'll give it to you in plain English. There are three things that you're going to do, whether you do it or indirectly it's done. If that process consists of an application being filled out, and if that application is registered, so there's an application, a registration, and then a certification, which means it was signed, you're in a trust agreement. So these civil law notary practitioners that are actually parliamentary draftsmen that are really acting as deputy Secretary of States are watching paperwork come to and fro through the court register investment system, and they're determining who's been naughty or nice. Now, here's the bad part for the civilians. Civilians don't understand that the republic is a house that nobody lives in. I'll prove it by not being able to prove anything. If you travel after class and drive to your local post office, what does it say on the outside of the building that calls itself the United States Post Office? What is the words on that building above the door when you are parking in the parking lot? What does those words say? I know for those of you that ain't been to the post office in a while, I'll help you out. It says the United States Post Office. It'll have on the top of the building above the door, United States Post Office. Now, when you walk inside of that building and you look at any paraphernalia that's inside of this building, what do you see on the paraphernalia? What does it say? Remember, the building says United States Post Office. But when you walk inside the building, what does the paraphernalia say?
Postal Service.
Postal Service. That's why they got, wanted posters, bubble gum, stamps. They selling all kind of stuff because it's Postal Service. So there's only 5 employees in the actual post office. And that's Janet Yellen and all those groupies. They represent the republic. There's a history about the republic that kind of goes like this. I can't go into intricate stuff because I don't want to get new people in trouble. We will go into this. You're going to learn this, but I'm going to give it to you for simplicity's sake. The original forefathers who set all this up knew that if things got too helter-skelter, they had to have, in case of emergency break glass, they had to have a fail-safe. First of all, regardless of whatever school of thought or school you attended, most people who have a college degree in this country today were probably taught by their professors and school teachers that George Washington was the first president, right? Can we all agree that if you had to get a cap and gown and walk down some sort of aisle, that you had to articulate out of your mouth that George Washington was the first president? Is that something we can kind of agree on? That you might have heard that, or at least you had to say that, whether you believed it or not. Now, the problem with that indoctrination is that George Washington actually wasn't the first president. But why on earth am I being said and told that I gotta say that? I don't know about you, but when I used to attend school, before public school started, they made you stand up and do a ritual, like hold your hand over your heart and do some sort of allegiance. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the words to the allegiance that you had to say?
Mm-hmm.
It said, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the what?
Republic.
All right, let's stop right there. I can find the word republic in the Pledge of Allegiance. I can find the word republic in the Constitution. But I have not, as of today, even with this new chat GPT technology, cannot find the word republic, democracy nowhere in the Constitution. Nowhere. So what had happened was there was a group of people who were hypnotized, indoctrinated to recite an oath to an office that they will never use. Because it's not about the allegiance that they took. It's about the directions that they will follow. Let's talk about the post office. a very special place, because if they enacted the draft tonight, isn't that where they bring you back to redraft you into the service through the post office? Like if martial law kicked off right now, you do know they're going to round you up and take you to the post office, right? Let me give you the age group, because people don't talk about this, but notaries, you got to know this. Now, again, new people, don't try this at home. Just listen, take notes, take a breath. I know you're getting excited. Just listen. If they reintroduce the draft, do you know who falls into that category? Probably not, right? Let me give you a clue. If you are 21 years old, the age group is 21, and I do have the new pilot program for those that want to examine it, notaries, because you need to know this because it may come up in your work. 42. So if you are in decent health and you're 21 to 42, you can be rounded up to reintroduce that oath. That doesn't sound too bad to some people, but listen to me carefully. Because this is not what you know. They have slowly but surely made it real easy for you to not even go visit your local post office. Like most folks don't even go into the post office unless they have to. I just like most folks don't even know where their local law library is. Most folks probably don't even know what a public library is. Better yet, in the last 6 months, we're 6 months into this year, have you been to the library in 2023? If you haven't, that's real dangerous. What's even more dangerous if you ain't been in the law library in about a year? It's real dangerous. You guys haven't figured out that some businesses are still operating as if they're still under COVID? Y'all ain't, you don't see the paradigm in this? Name a business that right now to this day they still tell you got to put on a mask, you got to do this, stand. Give me a somebody. Can you give me a business that still operates as if you were still full-fledged into the pandemic, whatever you want to call
it? State buildings.
Somebody said state buildings. Wow. Case in point, since COVID, in this country, in other territories, you've been in the world's longest bank run. And people who are actually being affected by this the most are simply putting it on social media and talking about it. But they're not taking no action. Listen to how I'm finna say this. When I was a kid, socialism was bad. The thought of 100 people following you would scare the hell out of you. Now, people are jumping out of windows for views. They want to be followed. I wonder why. So, if you have lost all your scruples, and if you have no clue on what you're coming or going, when it comes down to money, you're really going to be lost. Case in point, your concept of money is probably somewhere along the lines of George Washington is the first president, Easter bunnies lay Easter eggs, Santa Claus come down a tree, and we can name it, and it goes on and on and on. I remember as a kid, parents called those things white lies. And I never understood, okay, so if a lie is white, that means it's not bad. When I went to church, the pastor said, if you lie, you're going to hell. I'm confused. White lies are okay. Black lies, bad. I don't know. But, you gotta give some clarity to a child. A child has no reason not to believe what comes out of an adult's mouth. So so to go back to the African proverb, when the child laughs at the missionary, it's like such a small house for the creator of all. He wasn't wrong. Because if your concept of God can fit in the house, I don't know if I want to worship that God. That's too small. If that's your concept. You know, because what you're going to start doing is everything inside the house is holy and sanctified, and everything outside the house is the devil. I ain't saying, listen, you can tell me, and I can agree with you that there is polarity. What I can't agree with is that there's two powers. There's just one. And people that look like me used to know that. How is it that you're losing sleep and stressing over paper with dead people's faces on it? I remember a time, at least from what I studied, that money used to be seashells. Think about that for a minute. But to control a population, you have to do what? You have to destroy their knowledge of self. And then you can rebrand them into who you want them to be. Right now, notaries, there are records that are outside of the digital space that need to be corrected in order for the families to take allodial positions in these estates. And I'm going to spend the rest of this evening discussing these things in detail. What I will require is just an open mind and listening, because if you listen long enough, you'll definitely learn something. Who has a question over what we covered yesterday in class pertaining to the ability to leverage products that were offered by companies like Go Capital and North Avenue Capital? Like, does anyone have any question pertaining to exactly, once I become a notary, once I am directly involved with Go Capital as a loan officer and North Avenue Capital as a loan officer, and we're using arbitration to get these things done, what are my opportunities? I mean, I ain't saying that's your question. I'm giving you the official green light to start raising your hand, pressing 9-4 on your keypad, and really start asking questions about what have you learned in the last 72 hours, and how can I help you get you and your family to a sense of safety. Outside of our conversation, there is a lot of uncertainty. Inside of our conversation, there's a lot of solutions. But I only operate based upon the intel and intuitiveness of the listener and or student. When I get no response, I get real nervous. Either I'm doing a really good job or it's really over everybody's head and they really don't want to embarrass themselves. At least that's what they think. But I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a crazy question. But who has a question of anything they learned up until this point today? Please press the keypad so I can bring you on. It's real difficult to learn new things if you're still hovering around old things. And I don't really want to drop nothing too new on you unless you fundamentally know where you're at that point. All right, I got a question. Brother Mark, talk to me.
How you doing today?
Doing great, man. Happy Holy Day, big bro.
Same to you. My question is when you're talking to people about lending, like how do we go about assessing to see if they qualify before we do the paperwork, or how does?
Okay. Best way to do it is take the approach that there's no such thing as a deal that can't be done. It's just rather worth the time and energy of doing. And what lets you know it's worth the time and energy of doing is you ask yourself the following question. Whatever it is that this person wants to get funded or do, can this idea be insured? If the answer is yes, then the second question is, after it's insured to get them into this deal, can it be reinsured after they have acquired the funding? And if there's a yes to both, then they qualify. Now we can entertain doing the paperwork and getting them what they need. That's how you assess these deals.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Love the questions. Keep them coming. Any other questions? Press 9 on your keypad. I would love to entertain some more questions. Any other questions? Pertaining to, okay, we got a question here. Beautiful. All right. Brother Antoine, talk to me, man. Talk to me.
What's going on, bro?
Hey, man, getting it together. Happy Holy Day.
Happy Holy Day, brother. My question is in relation to the invoices that we have to take and submit to Go Capital, the criteria of what they will be looking for, so we know exactly how to draw those invoices up, whether it's for a vehicle or whether it's for a house, which, I know every situation is different, but just kind of, a framework of that.
Okay. Technically, I think most of you guys should approach equipment leasing from a commercial standpoint. That's number one. Even though you may have, this will be great for me to do this, that, and the other. You got all these multiple uses to make the invoice process run smoothly. Your job is to get the person who is selling that item to invoice it as a commercial piece of equipment. You got two spears. I'm going to say if this is a commercial equipment and it's not a vehicle, it minimally has to be written up as commercial equipment with a minimum value of $25,000. If it's considered a commercial vehicle, regardless of the vehicle, it needs to be conveyed as a commercial vehicle, and that invoice minimally needs to be $60,000. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to submit an invoice for a charger. I want you to submit an invoice for a dually and maybe a box truck. And then you strategically work out the charger that you want, because you're going to be facilitating those commercial liens with your lender. A charger, unless you're acquiring it for police services, that invoice will work. If you work for an agency, a security agency, if it's going to be used for security, yeah, you can get away with that. Are you understanding how I'm saying what I'm saying?
I sure am.
All right. That would be the format that will make it easy for you to get the seller to invoice these things accordingly. Path of least resistance, an approval same day, funding the following day. The way this works is they don't put money into your account with equipment leasing. They pay for the vehicle. And then you go into a payment structure with Gold Capital.
I got you.
Does everybody understand that? When they approve you, they're going to pay that. That's why they want to see a picture of the vehicle. They want to see the odometer reading, and they want to see the VIN number. That's why you want an invoice. You want to, if you're going to a dealership, every vehicle that's in a legitimate, large-scale dealership, all of those automobiles that are on that lot are in trust. They don't belong to the dealership. they belong to the manufacturer. When they get you to rope you in to what had happened was you get financed, then they're able to create commercial paper. By the way, if you try to buy the vehicle and tell them that you want to see the actual invoice, how many of you guys actually bought a vehicle and they gave you a copy of your invoice? You ever done that before?
You saying gave a copy of the invoice?
Have you seen the copy of the invoice? You ever bought a brand new vehicle from a dealership and then when you bought it, you asked them for the invoice?
No, just the contract.
Okay, so if you look at the invoice, you'll realize, wait a minute, I got ripped. I got really ripped. Y'all told me that the vehicle was worth 30 grand. The invoice says 17. And then they tell you what had happened was.
But that's how they get their money.
Of course. The vehicles are in trust. They gotta get paid.
Okay, so that poses another question.
Right.
When Go Capital go out to wherever that invoices come from, if dealer has fees within that, all of that is accommodated.
Supposed to be on the invoice.
All right. Enough said.
All right. Love the questions. Keep them coming. Any other questions?
Can you
comments, concerns? Go ahead.
Can you go back to the third part? Can you where you said you could buy the commercial vehicle, but if you wanted something, you have to do it a certain way?
Okay. All right. So you would want these things labeled commercially.
Mm-hmm.
The third way, in my opinion, and when we talk about commercial leases, because this is the start of this conversation, I am going to places where I'm going to make them bring forth what I want versus me doing all the heavy lifting and bringing finance. For example, I know that if I bring in an invoice for a 2024 Volvo tractor truck and a 2023 box truck from a Zuzu or Mitsubishi or, whoever, it won't be hard for me to get that same institution to get me a domestic vehicle. Because I'm not just making a one-time purchase. And there's an incentive to get me what I want personally because I'm going to bring residual business. I'm going to throw this in because I know what Brother Mark wants me to say, and I'm going to put it on the record. I will leverage insurance in such a way where the vehicle will be paid off at a very short period of time to keep new inventory growing. The same way Go Capital will hold a money transmittal bond, Freightliner, Volvo, Penske, Peterbilt, and everybody else will hold a money transmitter bond also. Because a money transmitter bond gives them the guarantee that if I don't make the payment, they can liquidate that bond and get all the cash that they would have got as if I was making the payments on time. That's like a payment guarantee. So I would walk my deals into these scenarios with the entire transmittal letter, UCCs, letters of credit, and money transmitter bond. So therefore, there is no no's. There only are yeses. And there's a win-win for me, a win for them, and a win for everyone else that's involved in that transaction. There's a win for me, Go Capital, and the dealership. A win-win-win. That's the third way I would approach it. All three ways, I'm telling you, that invoice needs to be what? Commercial. If I'm going to buy a piece of property, if it's a single family home, I'm going to call that home a home what? Office. I'm going to actually have them articulate the actual purchase price as a lease. Did you catch that?
I caught that. Keep talking.
All right. So unequivocally, Go Capital gives you their requirements for equipment leasing. So I will take Go Capital's requirement for equipment leasing and verbatim articulate that to the salesman on how I need the invoice to look so it can close. If you are a loan officer with Go Capital, you can call up Jacob in underwriting and he will send you the information necessary to do that. I do it all the time for clients. You know, you're in the middle of a transaction, you're trying to get a lease done, give me a call. I'll call Jacob. We'll have it done in a few minutes. I'll go here. I'm not saying I'm a tax guru or an accounting phenom, but I'm pretty good at trusteeship. So please use my office accordingly. I have no problem being the bad guy, the fiduciary, the trustee, the guy that's going to get this done. Whatever you articulate, just make sure that when they contact me, I have at least the details to help you get what you're looking to acquire. Are we clear?
Sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other question pertaining to anything you have learned this week or in its entirety up until this point?
And what's the limit on that commercial lease, commercial office?
Lease, in my opinion, should go no more than 5 years. 60 months.
5-year lease.
Right.
Okay. And what's the range?
I don't think on equipment leasing it can exceed $5 million. I don't think.
Okay.
Now I think $20 million with NAC. So if you need something bigger than that, then $20 million will be with North Avenue Capital.
Okay. I got that.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Here's a question that I didn't get, but I'll bring it up. You do know if you actually establish a lease for a bulldozer, how much does a bulldozer go for these days?
A lot.
Can somebody, for class purposes, if you got access to your chat GPT or the internet, give me kind of for a 2022 bulldozer, what's that price range? Caterpillar. Somebody give me the price for 2022, 2023 bulldozer. Another person give me a price for a 2023 Volvo truck tractor. And then a third person, if they feeling confident, give me a price for a Peterbilt or a Mack 2023 bulldozer. Dump truck. Excuse me. I need a price for a dump truck, a tractor truck, and a bulldozer.
A dump truck will go probably like 150.
$150K for the dump truck, okay. What about the new tractor truck? Can we agree that a new Volvo will exceed 80, 90 grand? That's about 152.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 300 grand. So we got the dump truck at 150, the tractor truck at 150. That's 300. How much for the bulldozer now? Caterpillar, bulldozer. We're at 300 grand on just the trucks. I need to know what the bulldozer is to round this out.
It's about 250,000.
Okay, so what's 250 plus 300?
550.
550. So if you're doing those type of invoices and you got a company that all these are going to go on and your company's got to have $1 million of general liability insurance, you can get real creative with what's the difference between these to work away into something domestic. What's going to blow your mind is how inexpensive it is when you're doing tangible business. Because with a bulldozer, a brand new tractor truck, and a dump truck, can't you generate about $3,000 a week off each one of those items, putting them in production?
Yep.
Okay. So if you're generating $3,000 a week, and it's 4 weeks in a month, what's 3 times 3?
9.
So that's 9,000 a week. 9,000 a week is how much a month?
36.
4 months, 4 weeks a month, 36 grand. So do you think your monthly payment on the lease is going to be more than $34,000 a month?
Nope.
Okay. Are you understand the power of leveraging?
Mm-hmm.
Do you actually have to have a yard to put all these vehicles on? Do you need to even have to have the vehicles?
Nope.
You just need a contract, right?
Yep.
Okay. Who's not understanding how I'm explaining this? Who's not getting it? Let's not to mention, okay, on a, you said it was how much? 500 grand?
550.
Okay. On 500,000, if the commission is %, that's 500,000 times 0.07. What's your commission on that lease?
35.
35 what?
1,000.
Okay. So you can make a commission of 35,000, and then you can revenue a month 35,000.
Mm.
Now, what if you just did that one thing once a month?
Mm.
For laughs and giggles, what's 70,000 times 12?
8.4.
70,000 times 12 is how much?
No, 840,000.
Okay. Let's say 36% of that goes to Uncle Sam. So how much? 800 what?
Half of it going to Uncle Sam.
36% going to Sam.
Mm-hmm.
So out of 800 grand, take 800 grand, multiply that by 0.36. How much is that?
It's about 500,000.
Okay, so after the 500,000, what you have cleared? What do you net?
500.
Okay.
Yeah, 500.
Okay. Is the average American making that a year?
Nope, not in 10.
Okay. Now, this ain't you driving the equipment. This ain't you owning the equipment. This is all what? Leveraging money.
Yeah.
Can't you do this from home?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just needing some more questions. Any other questions on
So pretty much what you're saying right now is you could go buy the equipment and have it out there and have drivers like sign up to like Landstar or anything like that as long as they pay you your part.
all you got to do is have the equipment, and getting people in it is easy because you control the equipment. You actually want to bring the driver so they can go pick up the equipment. You ain't even gonna touch it. It's gonna be delivered to them so they can go and do what they do. You don't want the equipment, you want the contract.
So, isn't this kind of taking like the creditor position? Because when we
Right.
normally go in, this is the co-signing that they do to control the paper that if we default,
Right.
they get.
Right.
Yeah. I got you. Asset management.
Right. You wanna manage the assets.
Right.
Got you.
And this works across the board now. How many of you guys would be willing to, on a Sunday course, after, it's got to be after dinner and all that good stuff, but we'll say Sunday before Monday, because Monday's going to be the grind. Because here's the deal, guys. You got until tomorrow midnight to get me the applications in so you're guaranteed a commission between now and the 15th of next month. I need to have applications earmarked in my Bitrix before 12 a.m. tomorrow. Because if I can get them in and earmarked, those approvals will materialize in commissions en route. And then I have an individual that can advance you those commissions as long as we're going to arbitrate. Let me be clear on this. Arbitration is what's going to get them funded because we're going to provide the bonding to make sure the deal is nice and tight. What I need is an application into my queue so I can appoint my notaries who are in my office locally on this processing campaign.
Are we
How
talking
many
about
people? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was asking, is this the 150 to join in that particular process, that application?
Right. When you have already fully enrolled and I turn you loose, where I can onboard you tonight if you want to get onboarded tonight.
Okay. Gotcha.
Can you repeat the application?
All right. Basically, the application information, I need to have these applications inside of my Bitrix space. Basically, anyone who's done a Go Capital application is basic information on the name of the business, EIN, address, amount they're requesting. And then once I have that information, let's say they got all that, but they ain't got their financials on point, this, that, and the other. We can complete that process through arbitration. But I need the application so I can start designating with the notaries what do we have as for a schedule. Because once I submit these applications to Jacob tomorrow, he's going to earmark them tentatively approved until I bring in the other credentials. And that's what arbitration is going to do. Once I have a tentative approval, within the next 15 days, I'm like, okay, how many days are in this month?
30.
31 days. How many months? How many days in July?
31.
Okay. So technically, within the next 15 days, if you get it earmarked into the system and I turn it in by tomorrow night, you can have a commission within 2 weeks. And if you really need it within that week, we just get it tentatively approved. We can do that. But what I need is these applications in the queue.
Yeah, this one of them might be kind of stupid questions, but just for clarity, are we talking about submitting like the application for, say, our clients as the notary?
Right.
Or we? Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
Like, for example, when you go through Go Capital's website, you're going to see all the different things that they lend. When you go through North Avenue Capital, you're going to see all the things that they lend. You develop a list of the 30 products, and that's what you're able to do at that moment.
Okay.
I know this might be silly also, but the application that we're looking for them to fill out is on the site of Go Capital or North American.
I'll provide it. Just let me know you need it. I'll send it to you.
I need it.
Okay. I'll give it. Right at the class, you got it, big bro. You got it. Any other questions? Say it again.
I say you're talking about Go Capital's application, the business loan
Right.
application?
Right.
Okay.
Do we got any other questions? Because if we don't, I want to lean into how you then take it one more step further. We're offering this as a franchise opportunity to folks that are presently Ubering and Lyfting part-time.
One more question with the application. When we turn in these applications, do you want the commercial invoice from the dealership attached to it? Or?
That would be great. That would be great if you could. If you don't have it right at that moment, just know that after we get it into the queue, that's the first thing Jacob's going to ask for.
Okay. Enough said.
All right. And when you get the invoice, it'll be great on the commercial vehicles. They have a picture of the vehicle, of course, speedometer reading, and VIN number, so they'll know what they're funding. And it can be a screenshot. I just need that be able to attach in the profile that this is the odometer reading, this is the VIN number, this is the vehicle. What I attempt on doing is this. If I find a notary who wants to make some extra money, their job will be to post these things on our notary website. Here's another thing that I'm going to introduce this weekend. I am going to reserve a page for all notaries that have gone through this process as a way to get their processes done through our Banking in the Box platform by opening up a specific landing page for these processes. So it's real simple. When Jacob wants to know what's being funded, if I give him a login into my back office and he sees all of these applications and invoices in a website back office, he's going to give me a blanket approval. Once I got the blanket approval, we don't stop. All he wants is the insurance. Notaries just gives you an opportunity to generate extra revenue because you got someone that need to get a notice for a UCC. You as a notary could effectively put it into your journal and then have that scenario placed on that website. And once it's been placed on the website, it's in public domain. If it's not rebutted in 3 days, it stands as fact in court.
That's what I'm talking about. But
I need you to help me help you.
That's That's a legal notice platform.
That's a legal notice platform, exactly. And so any notaries who are game to get involved with that legal notice aspect of that, I will let you run that.
Yeah, I want some more information about that.
All right. Any other question before we go into the leveraging with the ride share financing?
That's right.
All right. When it comes to ride share, you should be able to, if you may have family members or friends that may be already for extra money doing Uber and Lyft, whether they're taking people back and forth to destinations or picking up stuff from Walmart and various different, stores for customers. This ride share program offers an opportunity for them to go from just driving their personal vehicle to controlling a fleet of about 3 to 10 vehicles. It all starts with a what? An equipment leasing application. I performed a series of prompts during class, and that outline has been perfected and approved by Go Capital. So for notaries who actually have clients that will preferably take advantage of that ride share financing option, make it known so I can get you those outlines and leases for you to use with this application. If you go back and review yesterday's courses, I went into somewhat of a detail on how the ride share option really works. Right now, I'm just looking for those that feel they may have potential clients that can utilize it so I can get you the outline and the lease.
So what's the parameters for the Uber when that's only vehicles and not tractor trailer dump trucks, commercial vehicles?
That franchisee should be in the position where he's not locked in on just, all right, he's going to have 10 vehicles for Ubering and Lyfting, but he's also going to have tractor trucks, dump trucks, and box trucks because that's how he's going to get his fleet.
I got you.
Let me spell it out for you. The franchisee is actually a driver with Lyft or Uber. So they're like a truck driver. They are buying other trucks for other truck drivers to go out, and they're getting a percentage of what they do, and then they're making money in their own rig. Same rules apply here. They're going to still drive their car and do Uber and Lyfting, but they're eating off of 10 other vehicles because they're in their lane. And we're going to use tractor trucks, dump trucks, and box trucks to get them that additional fleet. Now, I can go into a very different schematic if they have a specialized niche, but that depends upon who we're talking to and what they put on this application. I don't want to cast pearls among the swine, meaning that I don't want to get them a high-octane platform and they can't conceive how they're going to maintain their vehicle. I mean, I can polarize it to make it real simple for them. I can designate someone to pre-sell the tractor, the box truck, the dump truck, the box truck, all that can be pre-sold. It's actually easier to pre-sale than trying to do a sale in real time. you'll figure that out too.
I'm thinking about that right now.
Nobody asked the question, but if someone has insurance that they ain't made a claim on, that's a pre-sale waiting to happen. Because you can do
General liability.
if you got that general liability no claim, they can actually do fixed asset lending if they're willing to liquidate a portion of their insurance to buy a fleet. It's called fixed asset lending. Those of you that have your AI tools, study fixed asset lending. That's your homework. It's easy to pre-sell. The approval process is faster, you get larger volume, and it's less stress.
What about going into the situation and say picking out whatever commercial vehicle it is, and then going and getting the insurance before you actually even take it into your possession? Could you still be able to use the insurance?
Right. There's a commercial provision where if a business has a right to borrow and lend. So every business, when it comes to either if they're doing a virtual business these days, a business has the ability to contract commercially with a local distributor for transportation needs. A business has a provision in commerce that allows them to borrow, leverage, and acquire computer equipment to run their business. Businesses have a lot more rights than it seems consumers have. Wow. Because these are things that are necessity for a business to operate. So you now go into, I'm gonna give it to you because you was close enough. I've been trying to get everybody to say this all week. If you take that client and go into Go Capital's SBA 7A guarantee program and get them approved, you'll be able to do equipment leasing the next day because they already got the 7A stamp on their application. It's an SBA approved loan. You're guaranteed it. The first thing they're going to do is get the equipment, even though it's a startup business. They know you're going to need the computers, the equipment to get into contracts. So they have an incentive that if you apply and get approved in 24 hours on a 7A guaranteed platform, equipment leasing is the next thing they do. That's not even your line of credit. That's just stuff you need to run the business.
Wow.
I've been waiting all week for somebody to get me into an SBA conversation, but everybody kind of like, I don't know what to say. I can't stand it anymore, so I'm just going to say it.
And the same, that's able to be placed over in the legal notices as well?
Exactly.
For that matter, all of it is able to be placed over there.
Here's the rule. I said insured and uninsured. So if you take your client that wants to do equipment leasing, your question, did you get PPP? No, I didn't. You're guaranteed to get an SBA loan. I'm going to make it real simple for you.
Oh, wow. Yes, indeed.
How old the business have to be?
The business can be a startup with 7A, but you get more flexible terms. Here's the deal. As long as it's a business, whether it's a startup or it's 2 years old or 10 years old, you're guaranteed funding if you never got a 7A loan. It's about the percentage of the loan. Like they're going to say, well, we're going to fund 70% of it. So the other 30% got to be covered by what? Insurance. That makes it 100% financing. You pledge the insurance. That's why we do arbitration.
To capture that portion that's in
right.
the insurance to be
right.
able to Right. Okay, I got you. Wow. Yeah. That's beautiful.
All right. Trying to make your holy day holy, man.
It's holy. It just got holier.
I'm trying to help you.
You dropped the wrong bunny rabbit off in the briar patch, didn't
I'm trying to tell you.
I'm trying to help you. Any other questions? And again, the two notaries that are working directly with me in my local office is Miss Suzette Ashbury and also Miss Courtney Wright. So if you're looking for the notaries that will help get it into the schedule and so forth, those are the ones you're looking for, and they are in both spaces. So they're in the Apex Capital space, and they also are in the new Bitrix space. So definitely reach out to them so we can get that information noted and minuted and placed properly.
Okay.
And is that the SBA loan application?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions before I let you guys go for this evening?
No, I want to get the information to get to that legal notice, to that landing page.
Okay. All right. Just remind me. I'll send you over that intel. I just got to unlock the page. I'll do that this evening. Guys, do not forget to listen to WTDTAradio.caster.fm because I put a lot of stuff in rotation in conjunction with what I'm doing in these classes. And for the new people that are coming in, I'm going to kind of hit the reset button for the new people so they can kind of catch up. A lot of them are doing their notary classes now. They're coming in, so the algorithm is going to shift. So for those that are in the Apex Capital space that hasn't transitioned to the new space, I'm going to reintroduce the Trust and Tax Mastery class. It's a $210 investment. You're going to get 7 courses that's going to put you in the fast lane for implementation. I just had a fiduciary who basically brought forth his own platform from what he built over the last couple of years, and he's now exclusively dealing with trust certificate units and fiduciaries that are in trust. There is a platform that we can discuss off record, off air, privately, that has a 20-week payout. These things are paying out every week. But in order to get into that conversation, I need you with the credentials in hand in the right space so you can get at the individual who's running that platform. There's also a group of new fiduciaries that are in the deal stream space. If you want more intel on that, also take advantage of getting into this other space. Any other questions before we let you go? All right. If not, look, I appreciate everybody's time and energy. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay engaged. Tune in to WTDTAradio.caster.fm. Remember, if you listen long enough, you definitely will learn something. Again, I appreciate everybody's time and energy. Peace and love, family. Peace and love.
All right,